Hey there, cats and kittens. Welcome. My name is Alonda Carter, and I am the Recovering Hunbot. And this is Hey Hun, You Woke Up Season 2. I don't know what episode, but anyway, I create anti-MLM content that's anti-multi-level marketing, and so that we are clear on semantics, there's many words that are used for multi-level marketing. If it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, walks like a duck, it's probably a triangular duck. There's terms like social selling, direct sales, network marketing. I just use MLM or multi-level marketing. Today we are talking to my friend and also one of my patrons. Her name is Kat Benson, and her channel is Unlocked Nutrition. She is a registered dietitian and nutritionist, and I think it's really important to hear from her voice, especially when it comes to all of these health and wellness MLMs. So without further ado, let's welcome Kat. Hey, Kat, thank you so much for being here with me. I've been really excited about having you here. And I know Friday we tried to do a live stream with another creator, and that just go as planned, but we are making it happen today. And we are going to be discussing some of the diet stuff within the world of multi-level marketing. And there's always something kind of like a little bit questionable when it comes to, in my opinion, any multi-level marketing product opportunity. I just never look at it and go like, wow, this sounds like it is totally on the level. So go ahead and give us a little bit of your background and how you became interested in like, you know what, I think I am standing against this type of business structure.
Yeah, so I am so excited to be here. I love talking about nutrition and just kind of diet culture, the dieting world, and everything that I see kind of scammy. Interested in that. And I feel like that's a common theme, even being interested in true crime. I don't create any true crime content, but I'm a big consumer of it. And so I feel like that's a pretty consistent theme across the board of a lot of people in the anti-MLM community. So I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. So what that means basically is you get your degree in nutrition, you do a year of supervised practice or your residency or internship, whatever you want to call it, in different areas. And then you take your exam and you're now registered. You can license in multiple states and then practice from there, just do continuing education. And that's really where people will start to focus on a specific aspect of nutrition. And so for me, I focus in on sports nutrition and also gut health and prenatal nutrition. Those kind of sound sometimes very different from one another, but oftentimes they coincide with one another with the people who I work with. And so that's kind of where I do my nutrition work. I started my career as a clinical dietitian in a hospital though. And so got a lot of experience doing tube feeds, TPN, working on different levels, different areas of the hospital. So that gave me a lot of like experience in the medical nutrition therapy side, which I absolutely love. And so that was actually kind of one of the reasons why I decided to look more into MLM, because I had heard of things like Mary Kay and Avon and everything, but I had no idea about the business model or anything. I was part, and I haven't talked about it on my channel. I just kind of keep pushing it back and pushing it back. But I used to be part of a nutrition company that the team had a registered dietitian, multiple ones, physicians, pharmacists, physician's assistants, nurses, lots of medical professionals. And that was at the very beginning of becoming a registered dietitian, and knowing at that time, looking at all of these people, being on calls and, feeling like, well, I'm, just a baby dietitian. What do I know against all of these other people, and not being educated about the business structure once I started learning more about that side. Because I'm sure you probably heard this in your experience, how they say like, you have to have 4 different beliefs, like belief in yourself, belief in the product, belief in the company, and belief in the business model. And the company and business model, especially the business model, I was like, I'm out. Like, I can't do this. If you are relying on building a team to grow, I just don't think I think it should be based off of like the product itself, and which is how like a normal non-MLM company runs.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, that was one of the reasons. Yeah.
the product, and that's the thing I always say, it's not like you ever go to a party and somebody's like, hey, Kat, have you heard about, blah, blah, it is an MLM product that everybody starts to, it's not like they're known outside of that particular bubble.
Right.
And
Right.
you get that perception because you're in it, that it's like, oh, this is the best thing, but but that's what you're being fed because you're around
Yes.
like-minded people.
People.
They're insulating you from the world.
Yes, saying don't look at the bad reviews, don't look at the bad, all of those. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, as you know, and thank you so much for being one of my patrons, that you have no idea how much that means to me. It's so sweet.
We need to get you a new laptop. That's the goal.
Me too. Go fund Alonda's laptop. I so need a new one because this one is just like, I was so upset. Upset. And so for the rest of the world, so that we tried to live stream, and my computer, I inherited it from my husband because he didn't like it and he refused to use it, and my other one crapped out, and so I've been using this crappy one for a while, and it just is, it's time.
It's seen better days.
Yeah. We're getting custody of his children, getting a house. It's like we can't go like, oh, let's go get a new laptop right now because the lending people look at every little thing. So I'm like, oh, great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But as you know, Kat, I've been doing a series on, I don't know if I would say it's necessarily Thrive or it's necessarily the Watts, or I don't really know how to characterize it. I have my playlist as Watts because that's what people recognize. But I've really been trying to use Shanann's story as a teaching aid, as like a case study, because I really feel like we can learn so much from it. And this is no victim blaming. And some people get all twisted up thinking, I don't even think they watch my videos. They just make an assumption and start, going off on me. And it's like, I'm not doing that. Because I want people to learn from it. And with your background in, nutrition and everything, I think it's very important to talk about that side. How could those patches, you wear them every stinking day. It just feels like that would be problematic. That's just the only word that comes to me. It'd be a problem.
It's a lot of nutrients. Yeah. Because because you can absorb through the skin, kind of the same ideas as using Epsom salt baths. So sometimes people will feel like they have to use a restroom after. It's a magnesium that's coming in, kind of the same idea of milk and magnesia. It's the magnesium as like a natural laxative. So there's that. But one of the things that I mentioned in the video that I did a deep dive on the Le-Vel products, the nutrition side, I find it interesting that a lot of times people will do the products and be like, I don't need coffee anymore. Like, I'm fine. And you look at the ingredients, there's coffee in those ingredients, in those products. And so it's like, why even say that you don't need caffeine or coffee at that point? You're getting the caffeine elsewhere. Like, that's not a flex, in my opinion.
To me, that's kind of odd because, okay, I'm one of those people that I enjoy just the process of fixing a cup of coffee and having that cup of coffee in the morning, and just being like, oh yeah, relax. Or if I go to a coffee shop, it's soothing to me. And so I find it odd that people are like, well, I don't need coffee, but it's like, but what if you actually enjoy it? Now you're taking away something that was once enjoyed.
Right. Like the whole atmosphere, the whole experience of drinking coffee is more than just for energy, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah,
that's just weird. But all the health and wellness MLMs, and now that I'm not in Beachbody anymore, it's now it's all like a red flag for me. I just am like, you know what? It's a bit horrifying to think that people are giving advice, but they have nothing to base their advice on other than, what they're told in the company. And they're not actually educated on what are the ingredients, how much of each of those ingredients are in there. and how
Mhm.
can those impact the human body? And then taking into account people are different. Some people are going to have other health issues. And then all of those things, it's like, how can just anybody sign up and start giving advice? Because basically that's what you're doing, is you're giving advice based on nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I was kind of thinking about this earlier, like one of the reasons why like Beachbody can do it and Arbonne and all of these other companies is that they are doing kind of broad group kind of recommendations and not recommending that one-on-one kind of medical nutrition therapy piece. But the problem is the coaches will use that and then start to do the individual kind of recommendations that we see in the Facebook groups and on Instagram, and it's just harder to really get to because Beachbody themselves aren't doing it. It's harder to keep them accountable for that. And I mean, I make sure whenever I practice in a different state that I look at the licensing website. And some of them, depending on the state, they're different. Some of them you don't need a license if you're licensed in a different state, as long as you are under 30 hours or a specific amount of hours in that state. Some of them like just allow different kind of rules. But to me, it is important to know that and also to have liability insurance, because I would be nervous if I was some of these coaches doing what they're doing.
Yeah, because you're not even encouraged to have anything like that. And from being in Beachbody, the thing that I remember is people would go into the group. I'm just going to make something up, I was talking to somebody and they have, irritable bowel syndrome, and can they still take Shakeology? And then it's all the coaches giving, and it's like none of them know anything. They're basing this off of what they have heard.
Anecdotal evidence. Mm-hmm.
That's just so
Like it helped me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a really big thing, anecdotal evidence. And this is, I know you've gotten this on your comments as well on videos, but for me also be like, this lady doesn't know anything she's talking about. She has never tried the products. How is she going to have be able to give an educated opinion about the products if I haven't tried them? Well, I have not tried cocaine and I don't need to try it in order to recommend you not to do it.
right, yeah, right. I haven't, OD'd on heroin, so that just seems to be such an illogical. But I think they're told to do that. It's like
Yeah.
it comes from somewhere. It's because you see it time and time again, some of the same behaviors. So when it comes to Thrive, I know there's like this 3 steps you do. You take pills in the morning, there's some kind of shake, and then you slap on the patches. So let's talk a little bit about those. And do you have information on each one of those products, or just the ingredients, or what can you tell us about them?
Yeah, so I can actually I have all of this out if y'all can see this in this video. So what I did is I went through, for the video that I did a deep dive on Thrive, I went through the multivitamins, the probiotics, the shakes, the treat meal that they have that blocks some of the absorption of carbs, some of the other products they have, Sculpt, all of that. And I wrote down all of the ingredients and then like what the purpose is kind of, and then other notes about it. So like where, and I get my information, I always link all of the resources or the sources that I gather that information from. Generally for the supplements, I always use the National Institute of Health. They have a dietary supplement list, and then also the US Library of Medicine. They have a really good supplement list as well. And so I just kind of pull information from both of those sources, a couple other places as well. But yeah, I do. And it's been a couple of weeks since I did that, but I have all of my notes still about those 3 products. But I thought it was really funny that there was really, I think the only difference between like the multivitamin, the women's and the men's, was the caffeine amount was a little bit different, but like there was, and other things that weren't really necessary for having a women's or a men's version. Like,
wow. And now I want to say, I don't remember if it was one of Shanann's videos or something else that I watched where someone made a comment like, well, I take the men's when I need, and they basically said that when I need more caffeine. And I'm like, what?
what? Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, just note to self, that was an odd thing to say, because then are you
Yeah.
encouraged to, if you're a woman, are you encouraged to buy both the men and the women's? And then if so, why? Are they telling people, oh, well, you take this for a little bit extra push? I don't really know. I'm just wondering and talking out loud.
Yeah.
It's just weird. So
Yeah, and then so you do that, and then you also, there's the actual patch itself, so that has caffeine in there as well. And so you're getting more. And then there's also the shake, the like a protein shake essentially, and there's caffeine in there as well. And so I sometimes there is a time and place to have a kind of shake like that. Like if you just get done working out and you're not really feeling the idea of having a full meal as appetizing, but you still know you need to eat, that can be helpful. Or if you have a competition day for a different kind of sporting event, sometimes having an easier to digest option is great. And so something like a meal replacement might be appropriate in those situations. However, for the majority of people, I generally don't say like, that's a great idea. If you want to get healthier, let's just start, incorporating meal replacements, shakes. It's just, we don't need to do that. We can have whole foods instead and not have to rely on that. And we can feel more full with those foods because you're having the chewing that tells your body that, okay, you're getting in nutrients, you're getting in energy, and start to feel full, satisfied, and all of the things that help us to continue going without getting extra hungry from just drinking.
and it seems like all of the health and wellness, and maybe they don't, but it just, the ones I'm thinking of, they all have a shake. There's
Yeah.
some kind of a shake. Just drink the shake. I mean,
They're
obviously,
always the best one too.
you what?
They're always like the
Oh,
best shake.
absolutely. I mean, and I will be honest, I like the taste of the cafe latte and, of the
Some of
Shakeology,
them are good.
but I used
Yeah.
almond milk with it, and that to me was better than just plain water. But then you always see them adding more stuff, and I'm presuming the other ones have recipes too, because there's always, you got to be sharing
Yes.
something to make because you're adding value and
Yeah.
not drinking. Oh
Like
gosh.
every month, depending on the month, it'll be like a peppermint one or like like a chocolate strawberry one or a mint one for Valentine or for St. Patrick's Day, and just different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always adding,
Some
recipe books for the shakes.
it's
It's pretty
weird.
wild. And I mean, and I know we weren't talking about Arbonne specifically, but so many of them will say things like, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. But when you look at the 30 days to healthy living, it's a diet, and they say that it is for gut health, and to kind of take out the foods and see what you have sensitivities towards, anything like that. However, that is something that we can do, and what we do in certain kinds of medical nutrition therapy for digestive issues, for gut health issues. And the 30 days to healthy living is not protocol for what we do when people have food sensitivities.
You know,
So it's a diet.
now that you've mentioned gut health, the because I did do kind of a reaction to Thrive Huns, like promoting the opportunity. And one of them, I think it was that she said that the gut is her second brain or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
So Huns have taken hold of gut health and run with it, ran with it, whatever. So there is so much that we are still learning about our digestive health, our microbiome. So, and there is links, like when you have a lot of stress, we can see that it impacts our digestion. And a good example of this is kind of a rest and digest versus like a fighting and kind of that stress. That's one of the reasons why people recommend when you are eating to, rest and allow yourself to digest, not trying to be doing a whole bunch of other things. And sometimes we find when we have, it sounds kind of silly and kind of woo, but when we can reduce some of our stress, sometimes it's not even a food sensitivity. Sometimes it's just a lot of anxiety. And so through the appropriate, treatment from that, outside of even what I can do in certain cases, they can have like improvement in their digestive health just because of that anxiety piece to it. So there is a part of that, but it's not just as easy as them saying, this is what it is. So try my probiotic or try the shake that we have, because everybody's gut microbiome is different. It's like a thumbprint. It's so different. Even for people who live together, they're a little bit more similar, but it's still different. And what can be helpful for one person might not work in the same way or be as helpful in the same way in another person. And so that's why, like, a couple years ago, it was really popular for a lot of people to just recommend probiotics across the board. Now with more information, we're like, okay, for some people it might be helpful, for other people it won't be helpful at all, for other people it's not a good idea, especially if you're immunocompromised or if you can have, if it's otherwise contraindicated with what is going on. And so I'm always careful just to blindly recommend probiotics or anything, because there's a lot more questions that need to be asked before I'm going to say, okay, go do this one instead. And it's just, whenever anybody says that this helps with gut health, that is a red flag for me, because it is so individualized. And foods that are very nutrient dense, that are considered healthy across the board, they can have some people can have some sensitivities towards them. So it's not a black or white thing when it comes to gut health at all.
Yeah, give me a simple definition of what gut health is, because overall, I mean, I couldn't tell you what it means, and I'm just kind of making the assumption a lot of the people watching or listening are like, oh, what the heck is gut health?
Yeah. So gut is an actual anatomical term. So when you are in development phase of becoming a human, it's called a foregut and like a midgut and hindgut that make your digestive system. And so gut is actually, an appropriate term. And so you have the digestive system, so starting from your mouth all the way to where you excrete, bowel movements. And so the part that can get really kind of messed up for some people, it can be, you can have some challenges, even esophageal or even in the mouth. But generally when people talk about gut health, it's the like small intestine, some digestive issues, even your stomach, but a lot of times the colon and the gut, the microbiome that's in there. So all of the bacteria, we always hear about bacteria, some are good, some are bad. So sometimes, like if you are having a dose of antibiotics, those don't necessarily differentiate between the good and the bad. And so you can have the good die alongside of the bad bacteria. And so that's why sometimes when you have antibiotics, you can have some digestive changes with that. And so generally though, what we recommend is to incorporate probiotic rich foods that have those naturally occurring healthy bacteria versus just, supplementing with a probiotic. In certain cases, yes, obviously, but things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, kefir, yogurts, and also in the same time, making sure that we're able to feed those healthy bacteria in our gut. We can feed them with what's called prebiotics. So pre is before the probiotic. So pre is just what they eat, what they need to live because they're alive. And so those would be fibers.
Okay.
That they thrive off on. Mm-hmm. So gut health is just making sure that you have healthy amounts of healthy bacteria.
Okay, that makes sense. So I had to get comfortable, because this chair is not very comfortable, so I have to rearrange myself a bit.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What would you say is your biggest hot button when it comes to multi-level marketing and the health and wellness MLMs? The kind of the product, is there a particular product that you just go like, this, no, or is there something that the Huns do? What is it that really triggers you about the health and wellness MLMs?
Yeah, that's a really right. That's a really good question. I would say two major things. One would be just it weakens the integrity of coaches. And I'm not I fully see how we can have legitimate nutrition coaches, health coaches that aren't registered dietitians. We can work together. I work with several of them, and that is, I think, a really cool relationship to have, and to have that be available for reference as needed, as they help with more of the implementation side of things. So I'm not, sometimes people say that, like I seem like a jealous person, or I'm, fearful for my own kind of practices. No, it's like, this is people's health. I'm 100% okay with referring out. And I'm also 100% okay with like coaches, nutrition coaches who aren't dietitians talking about nutrition as well. So it's not that, and so it's just the fact that it weakens the integrity of coaches, in my opinion. That's a really big thing. And it makes it seem like it just, it cheapens the name of coach. And then alongside of that, there's a lot of dietitians and, health professionals who will recommend certain products and, be affiliated with it. And that's okay. And the difference is, sometimes they might recommend one kind of product from one company and a different product from another company. That other company, that first company, might have a similar product as the second one, but it might not be as good or what they're looking for. And that is okay. The company is not going to be like, well, you can't, you only have to recommend our products or anything. Like, it is okay to have your favorite products from different companies, your favorite supplements from different companies. And with MLM, I feel like it's always theirs is the best. There's nothing else. And their company doesn't really like it when you start to recommend other ones. And if you're legit, like other companies, they don't care. Like, I mean, of course they're going to want you to recommend their product, but at the same time, they're going to be okay with that because that's normal.
Yeah, well, and this is totally not the same thing, but maybe you'll get what I'm saying. But, I think about people, not anybody in multi-level marketing, let me just make that caveat, but regular people, like even their makeup drawer, it's not like they are just like true to one brand. And it's like
Urban Decay.
That's it. Granted, I have a lot of ColourPop because I like it, and it's inexpensive,
Yes.
and it's,
Mm-hmm.
cruelty-free, all of that. But,
Mm-hmm.
you use a variety of different products just in your makeup. And sometimes
Yes.
for skincare, you're like, well, I like this cleanser, but I don't like, the eye cream. It's
Yes.
okay. And
Yes. I have different protein products, different brands in my kitchen right now. So yeah, you can definitely have multiple
yeah, and
options.
I had never really thought about that until now, but it's like, yeah, you really are conditioned to believe it's this product, only this product, and this is all that anybody ever needs.
Yeah. And it's wild that you can put your whole life into somebody else's company in that manner. Like, they don't care if you leave, like, they're losing some money, but like, why are you going to put all of your effort into someone else's name, a company that's not yours?
Yeah.
Be so loyal. Like, it's, don't do that. They don't care about you.
Now, if somebody happens to be watching this and they are with a multi-level marketing company, maybe they're just
Mhm.
kind of starting to kind of wake up and be like, not so sure about all of this type of thing. And maybe they're in a health and wellness MLM.
Mhm.
What could you tell them that may help them to realize, like, maybe what you're doing isn't the most ethical, isn't the greatest thing when it comes to caring and guiding people about their nutrition?
Yeah. So I made a video. It was a while back, but I forgot even the name of it, but the whole goal of it was to reach people in that phase. And telling them that if you want to, I think it's wonderful. And I think it's amazing that you want to help people get healthier. There's so many different ways of doing it that don't align or don't have to be part of MLM. And you can do that in so many different ways. There are so many different credentialing places, so many different opportunities for certifications. You don't have to become a registered dietitian. If you want to, that's great. I can help you with that, but I can also like give you different options of really good courses to go on if that's something that you want to, branch more into. I would say that I know this is a hang up for a lot of people that I get comments even of like, they're saying how much the products helped them. And even regardless of the product, looking at the business structure, reading the information that the FTC says about the business structure, because I don't know if we were recording already when I was mentioning the 4 different beliefs. I don't think we had to hit record.
You can well, you did say it,
I'll
say it again.
I'll say it again. So in order to be, to get to the top, generally you're going to hear like you need to have belief in yourself, belief in the product, belief in the company, and belief in the business model. And you can have belief in yourself and the product, but really looking into the business, the company, and the business model. It's unethical. It's, if you could go to the top with just selling product, then I'd be like, okay, go for it. The fact that you can sell all of the product in the world and not make it up to the top unless you have other people selling it, like that is the red flag for me.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people.
That's a huge red flag, because when you look at any of the comp plans, generally there's something about the volume, the team volume, and they may call it something else, but overall it's like everybody else underneath you, those little points that they give that will up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It should be like, if it's just based on you, that's one thing, but the fact that you need to have like 2 legs reach a specific amount, then you get to, move up. Like, it's less about the product and more about the team building.
Yeah.
Which,
and do all of that, and we'll give you this car bonus, but if you don't get the volume for this month, you don't get the car bonus.
Right. Yes. Another thing I would say is also that when you're helping people with nutrition, the goal should be to teach them how to do what they need to do and then like send them off. And of course they can do, check-ins every once in a while, but the goal shouldn't be to like keep them forever. That's not empowering them. They use that word empower so much, but if you're keeping people in order to help them stay healthy, that's not really empowering them. That's not teaching them the tools that they need. I don't want to keep somebody like a long time. I'm like, okay, use what I taught you, use the tools, go ahead. And if you have questions, come back, let's do a check-in. But I don't want you to be reliant on like my services.
Right. Wow.
The opposite of empowerment.
It is. I mean, I just have come to think of being involved in multi-level marketing, you become a slave. I mean, you are enslaved by that thing because you think it's going to take you somewhere, and it's we know otherwise, unfortunately. I mean, and like you said, I mean, if all of this was based on just product sales, that would be one thing, but it's not. And I think, to me, one of the most damaging things people experience, because I know I experience, is you work your butt off like no one else in the world. It's just like so much when you're a hun and working so hard. And when you don't have people join and you don't get that payoff, I think you take such a hit psychologically. And what it does to you, it damages you emotionally and psychologically, which then creates more problems for you as you continue life. And then
there's so many
information about like all of the gut health and all of this stuff that you're carrying along with you.
Yes. And just thinking of how many people, including myself, just wasted time when we could have been furthering, our private practices, our own companies, our own brands, not building up another
right
multi-level marketing company. It's wild. And even when you talk about like all of them have the same like business model, right? But especially with what we're talking about today with the nutrition related ones, even if you look at the dieting industry and how manipulative it can be in selling a dream body. Like it's always like, do this program, follow these rules to get this dream body. And if you don't reach that body, then it's your fault. Like it's this kind of same gaslighting almost of
Yeah.
you didn't do the program correctly, when in reality everybody's body is going to react differently depending on where they're at, like currently, how their metabolism is, how their hormone levels are. Just because somebody eats in one way doesn't mean that the other person will look the same eating in the exact same way. So they're both selling a dream that's false for the vast majority of people.
That, because I think another problem is so many of the people who are involved in multi-level marketing is they're in their 20s and 30s, and here I am, in my 50s. Like what I'm going through is not the same. And I mean, and I have gained weight after I stopped Beachbody, but I had other things going on, and I had other things in my system, and it's like, it's not because I'm sitting around eating a bunch of Cheetos or anything. I can tell you people that, I'm not doing that, but you have things happening to you that you can't control it necessarily by what you're putting in your body, what you're putting in your mouth. It's like there's other factors that are going on. And I think that MLMs seem to have that bullet approach, if you will, of like, this thing is the answer, and it's the answer for everyone.
Everything.
No matter the time of day, no matter the time of the life cycle, everybody needs this. And that, that's a bit.
They're selling the dream health body and also the dream of the income and time freedom. Like both of those, they're so, of course, like, and I was even thinking about this, like nobody joins either one. Nobody starts either one when they're feeling great and they're feeling the best, right? Like you're always in a place, in a vulnerable place. And so a lot of people are looking for, what the next diet is going to be for a variety of reasons. And a lot of people also want to have those kind of dreams of their life in that way. And so together, I think that nutrition related ones are some of the most nasty.
Oh, I agree with you. And especially because they will lure people who are, it could be a massage therapist, a chiropractor, somebody who like a spin instructor or whatever, lure them in. And then those people already have these networks and they're going to recommend the products. And I did early on, I did a couple of videos on Kyani, and there was a chiropractor here in where I'm at that was recommending to their patients. Basically, it's like, that to me is unethical.
Yes. Yeah.
Call me crazy.
Oh man. Okay, I'll share. This is really wild. So I don't know like how, okay, anyway, so there is a top level male hun in Juice Plus. He is the one who got everybody together for the anti-mask protest in Michigan back in the summertime.
Wow.
Yeah, there's articles about it. I can share it with you.
Oh, please do. I think I need to do a video on that.
I was like, the fact, and saying some things about it that I was like, okay, that claim is that's not cool. And so I was like, I just can't, I don't want to be a part of any kind of business that there are people there who I very much disagree with in just very fundamental issues and not having any say over that. Like I was like, I don't want to be affiliated with that.
Yeah. Now, okay, a final question I want to ask you, and also I want to make sure that you send me the links to any videos that you think would be helpful to people, if we're watching this, that you have that content that they might think. If I remember, because I suck at throwing up the cards in YouTube, and this will also be going out on Anchor, so people will hear just audio as well. I tried to do that with these interviews. That's why it's, hey, hun, you woke up. I have little separate little things. I attempt to somehow do this with, I don't know, I'm not good at marketing, but I tried to get the word out basically. Anyway, if somebody is, I don't know, doing Herbalife, Amway, Beachbody, just, whatever, and health and wellness stuff, and they've been thinking like, this stuff rocks, what would you say to them to get them to no longer purchase the MLM product, and how would you direct them to find an alternative?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that that brings up a good point. There needs to be more, I think, dupe videos of this as an alternative to that. Really looking at the ingredients, and even if they have any third-party testing, you can always look at those third-party tests and look at the other products that company is also third-party testing too. They'll usually have similar kind of items on there. And really just recognizing that it's not so much, so a lot of times people will get benefits whenever they start doing a new kind of diet, but a lot of times, like, this is why you'll hear people say that this diet works, this diet works. Well, this one worked for me. Like, they have the same kind of foundations. All of them are in a similar way, are promoting more intake of nutrient dense food. Most of them are promoting intake of less, energy dense, less, lower nutrient foods. They're all recommending you more so to make your own foods versus consuming food from outside of the house. Generally, they're recommending you to get in a good amount of fluid and sleep. Like, they all have the same kind of basic foundations. And that's really what is helping the most out of everything. So yeah. And then you can always reach out to your doctor if you have access to them and ask them for a referral to a registered dietitian. A lot of times they take insurance. One of the reasons why I don't is just because with military, we move around too much for me to deal with that. I can do super bills though. So that's something where they can submit that to their insurance and they can see if they can get that covered. But I do know a lot of dietitians who even practice online who take insurance. And you can get referred by your doctor to have that covered. So,
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that let's plug your channel. So what is your channel? I'll make sure to include a link to it.
Yeah. So Unlocked Nutrition. And then it has like a dash and then Kat Benson RDNLDN or RDLD. I was like, it's a really long one. I probably would have changed it had I had thought more in the future, but just put Unlocked Nutrition or Kat Benson. It should pop up.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put a link to that also, in the description. And so be sure to check her out because, if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, this is the gal to do that. And I really want to say thank you so very much. Kat, I want to say thank you so much for being a guest on my channel, and I look forward to returning the favor for you. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope you'll come back because there's just more questions that I have overall when it comes to these health and wellness MLMs, especially, and put this, in your bonnet, that Enagic, because I've done several videos about that water MLM, and I really want to pick your brain on that. So thank you so much for being here, and remember, you're beautiful and I love you.